Tom Cruise had always found solace in simplicity. Despite being one of the most recognizable faces on the planet, he still cherished moments of quiet, moments where he could blend in, be just another traveler in the crowd. So when he booked a seat on the inaugural flight of Luxuries Air, the newest elite airline boasting gold-trimmed cabins and ultra-private suites, he chose to fly without his assistant, without a security entourage, and without any fanfare. He walked into the airport wearing a plain navy baseball cap, dark sunglasses, and a simple blazer over a button-down shirt. His luggage was hand-carried. No fuss, no drama. As he stepped into the first-class section, the luxurious interior caught even him off guard: cream-colored leather seats, polished mahogany dividers, and ambient golden lighting designed to mimic a five-star hotel lobby. But Tom wasn't there to be impressed. He just wanted a peaceful flight, some quiet reading, and perhaps a nap before heading to Europe for his next film shoot. Sliding into seat 1A, he sank back, grateful for the silence. But it didn't last long. From across the cabin walked a tall, sharp-featured man in a crisp black suit, tie knotted to perfection, and a gold badge pinned to his chest that read, "Daniel, Flight Concierge." Daniel took pride in maintaining control. His motto was simple: rules before reputation. And to him, appearance was everything. He stopped directly in front of Tom, arms crossed, eyes narrowing behind a professional yet forced smile. "Sir," Daniel began, his tone clipped and smooth, "this cabin is reserved for platinum passengers only." Tom looked up, slightly surprised but unbothered. "I believe I'm in the right seat," he said calmly, offering a polite nod. Daniel didn't flinch. He glanced Tom up and down, cap, sunglasses, no designer luggage in sight. And instantly filed him away in his mental list of seat jumpers. It happened occasionally, passengers who bought business class but tried sneaking into first. Daniel tilted his head, annoyed by what he assumed was stubbornness. "Unless you're a VIP," he pressed, voice louder now, "I'll need you to move to economy. Please don't make this awkward, sir." Tom's brow furrowed slightly, not in anger but more in quiet confusion. He reached into his inner pocket and pulled out his boarding pass, extending it gently. Daniel took it, but barely glanced at it. His eyes skimmed past the name and seat number, more focused on asserting authority than checking facts. With a dismissive scoff, he handed it back. Then, as he turned to walk away, he muttered, not to Tom, but to a passenger in the adjacent row, just loud enough for a few ears to catch it. "Some people think a blazer gets them anywhere." There was a pause, the kind of silence that feels heavy. A woman 2 rows behind gasped. Another passenger's eyes widened. A man leaned forward, clearly recognizing the quiet figure now removing his sunglasses. That was not just some well-dressed man in a blazer. That was Tom Cruise. Daniel froze mid-step as a whisper spread across the cabin like wildfire. "Wait, is that Tom Cruise? That's Tom Cruise." Phones slowly lifted into the air. Some passengers tried to sneak photos. Others elbowed neighbors with stunned expressions. Daniel spun around. And there he was, Tom Cruise, no longer hidden behind sunglasses or posture. His expression was unreadable, somewhere between amused and disappointed. He looked Daniel directly in the eyes and said in a voice both calm and firm, "I wasn't trying to get anywhere. I was just taking my seat." Daniel felt a sudden lump in his throat. He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. His confidence, the tight, polished professionalism he always carried, was gone, crumbling under the weight of the realization. He had just humiliated a Hollywood icon in front of a cabin full of ultra-wealthy passengers, on the airline's most prestigious flight. And the cameras were rolling. As Daniel stumbled over an apology, Tom simply shook his head gently and said, "It's fine. Let's just move on." But by then, the internet had already started paying attention. and what came next would change Daniel's life, the airline's PR reputation, and even Tom's own image, all because of a simple misunderstanding, and a lesson in humility. Moments after the awkward confrontation, the first-class cabin had gone unusually quiet. Whispers floated like tension through the air. Some passengers avoided eye contact. Others subtly filmed with their phones, pretending to scroll or read. TomCruise, still seated in 1A, remained calm, the slight edge of a knowing smile playing at his lips, but his eyes revealed something deeper: disappointment, maybe even amusement. Then came Lila, another flight attendant moving down the aisle with practiced grace. She was younger than Daniel, maybe late 20s, with sharp observation skills and a genuine warmth that passengers instantly responded to. As she approached the front cabin, her eyes briefly swept over the guests, and then froze. Her steps slowed. She blinked, did a double take, and then fully stopped in her tracks. The man in 1A removed his sunglasses and casually tucked them into his jacket. That face, those eyes, she knew instantly. Her jaw dropped. She quickly turned to Daniel, who was by the bar area pouring sparkling water like nothing unusual had happened. She rushed over, her voice dropping to a whisper but heavy with urgency. "Daniel," she hissed, grabbing his arm. "Do you know who that is?" Daniel raised a brow. "Who?" "The guy with the smug attitude and a knockoff suit?" Lila shot him a sharp look. "No. The man you just tried to kick out of seat 1A. Daniel rolled his eyes, still irritated. "Yeah, him. Another wannabe executive trying to sneak into first. Let me guess, TikTok influencer with 1 million fake followers?" Lila shook her head slowly, then leaned in closer and whispered, enunciating every word. "That's TomCruise." Daniel blinked, the name hitting him like a slap. "Wait, what?" "Yes. Mission Impossible. Top Gun. Jerry Maguire. That TomCruise." Daniel's blood drained from his face. He stood there, paralyzed, the glass of water still in his hand, condensation dripping down onto his fingers. A deep pit opened in his stomach. He turned slowly, his eyes now scanning the cabin with a very different perspective. Every face seemed to be watching. And there, in 1A, was Tom, relaxed, composed, but unmistakably iconic. Daniel's breath caught in his throat. His footsteps back to the seat were cautious, hesitant, like he was walking toward a courtroom. Tom looked up once again, now fully aware that the moment had shifted. No more pretending. The secret was out. His identity had gone from private to public in a matter of seconds. Daniel cleared his throat, suddenly dry-mouthed. "Mr. Cruise," he began, his voice cracking slightly. I didn't recognize you. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to." Tom cut him off with a soft wave of the hand. His expression wasn't angry. If anything, it was strangely gracious. "Hey," Tom said calmly, "it's okay. Happens more often than you'd think." But the words didn't really help Daniel. In fact, they made it worse. The kindness, the humility, it highlighted his own arrogance just moments earlier. Daniel opened his mouth again, trying to salvage what he could. "If I had known." Tom smiled gently, but there was a seriousness in his eyes. "You mean, if I looked the part?" That hit home. Hard. Daniel stumbled over his words, trying to explain himself, but there was no undoing what had been done. He had profiled a man, not based on attitude, but on simplicity. He'd mistaken humility for pretension. In a luxury airline that prided itself on flawless service for the elite, he just humiliated a global superstar for not looking elite enough. Behind him, the sound of camera shutters clicking became more noticeable. A few passengers were already typing tweets and whispering to one another. "Can you believe the flight attendant tried to kick out TomCruise? Luxury Air's first-class fail." Daniel stood there for another second, then forced a professional smile, bowed slightly, and walked away. Lila followed closely behind, whispering, "I told you." He didn't reply. His mind raced. His chest tightened. He'd worked his whole career to reach this level, to serve the top-tier elite. But one careless moment of judgment now threatened everything. Tom turned his attention back to the clouds outside the window. Calm, poised. But inside, Daniel knew, this wasn't over. And neither was the fallout. Word spread like wildfire through the cabin. It started with one photo, a blurry shot of Daniel pointing at TomCruise's face. Then came a shaky video, Tom calmly handing over his boarding pass while Daniel turned away with a smirk. Within minutes, passengers posted short clips, snippets of whispers, and rapid hashtags. Hashtag cruise flight drama. Hashtag air host epic fail. Hashtag Tom stays cool. By the time the flight reached cruising altitude, the incident was already going viral. Phones buzzed with notifications. Influencers on board shared exclusive footage. Some passengers even faked surprise in front of their cameras just to jump on the trend. TikTokers turned the 10-second interaction into dramatic reenactments. Twitter exploded with memes, calling Daniel everything from Captain Judgy to Sky Karen in a tie. The most shared post read, "When you try to kick TomCruise out of first class and end up in mission, apology." Daniel sat in the galley, hunched over with his hands covering his face. He could hear the whispers behind the curtain. Flight attendants murmured. Even the pilots had called down asking, "Is it true? TomCruise?" His image, once proud, polished, and professional, was now being shredded in front of the world. All because he didn't recognize someone he should have treated with respect, regardless of status. Meanwhile, up front, Tom sat peacefully, his sunglasses back on, quietly reading a script he'd tucked into his carry-on. His expression was unreadable, but he hadn't lashed out, hadn't demanded compensation, and hadn't called for Daniel to be removed. He hadn't said a single unkind word. And that, perhaps, was the most humbling part. Midway through the flight, the cabin intercom crackled, and a new voice came through, deeper, more serious. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your in-flight service manager. We'd like to thank you for flying Luxuries Air, and we kindly ask all passengers to refrain from recording other guests during this journey." But it was far too late for that. By the time the plane crossed over the Atlantic, the incident had made international headlines. Luxury airline host humiliates TomCruise mid-flight. Mission, mistaken identity goes viral. TomCruise stays classy as airline scrambles to save face. Back in the cabin, Daniel's earpiece crackled. The message was short, urgent. "The manager needs to speak to Mr. Cruise immediately." Within 5 minutes, the airline's senior service manager, a man named Marcus dressed in a tailored navy blazer, personally boarded the flight during its short layover stop in Reykjavik. He approached Tom's seat with measured steps, pausing to bow slightly. "Mr. Cruise," Marcus began, tone full of remorse. "I'd like to extend our deepest apologies for the unfortunate incident earlier today. It doesn't reflect our standards, and we take full responsibility." Tom looked up from his script, setting it aside politely. His expression was as calm as ever. "I appreciate that," he said. "Honestly, I wasn't looking for any special treatment. I just wanted a quiet flight." Marcus nodded, struggling to mask the tension in his voice. "We understand. The crew member involved has been informed, and will be reviewing." Tom raised a hand gently. "Let's not make a bigger deal out of it." But of course, the internet already had. But instead of turning bitter or defensive, he did something unexpected. That night, from the modest apartment he shared with 2 roommates, Daniel sat at his desk and opened his phone. He clicked record and stared into the lens, unfiltered and unrehearsed. Today, I disrespected a legend. And not because of his status, but because I judged him by how he looked. His voice cracked slightly, but he continued. Mr. Cruise was kind. He was humble. He didn't raise his voice, didn't demand special treatment, he just wanted a quiet flight. I let my pride and assumptions get in the way of basic decency. And that's on me. He paused, looked down, then added. I've learned something I'll carry for the rest of my life: treat everyone like a VIP, because you never really know who you're speaking to. He posted it on his personal Instagram and TikTok, unsure if anyone would even watch. Within minutes, views started to climb. Within an hour, the comments poured in. Many were harsh, but a surprising number were understanding. We all mess up. Owning it like this takes guts. This is the apology we wish more people gave. Not gonna lie, you earned some respect back. And then, TomCruise commented. Under the video, just 3 lines. We all make mistakes. Respect earned is respect shared. Wishing you the best, Daniel. The internet exploded. Screenshots of Tom's reply flooded social media. Fan pages reposted the exchange with captions like, "Class meets class." Cruise shows how real legends handle things. From viral embarrassment to viral redemption. Even mainstream media praised the exchange. Morning talk shows played the clip, calling it a masterclass in humility and accountability. Suddenly, the narrative shifted. Instead of being solely about an arrogant flight attendant and a wronged celebrity, it became a story of grace and growth. It was no longer just a trending drama, it was a teachable moment. People debated the pressure on service workers, the danger of snap judgments, and the beauty of second chances. Luxuries Air, seeing the momentum, followed up with a video campaign titled "Every Seat Deserves Respect," inspired by the incident. Daniel, now freshly trained and reformed, even featured in a short segment, sharing his experience with future crew members in training. And TomCruise? He never posted another word about the incident. He didn't need to. His single, sincere comment had already done what no press statement could. He turned a viral fail into a story of empathy and evolution, one the world wouldn't soon forget. Extended a formal invitation to TomCruise, this time publicly. They offered him the full VIP experience, a private jet, a custom in-flight menu crafted by a celebrity chef, and a charitable donation to any foundation of his choice as a gesture of goodwill. The public waited eagerly for his response. When the media reached out to his team for comment, Tom's answer was short, but surprising. I'll accept. But on one condition, Daniel must be my flight attendant. The world blinked. The same flight attendant who misjudged him. The same man who had been suspended and ridiculed across social media. Why? When asked, Tom simply smiled and said, "Redemption is better than revenge." It was a line that would soon be quoted on posters, news broadcasts, and motivational reels across the internet. On the day of the flight, the runway at Luxuries Air's private terminal buzzed with reporters, influencers, and curious onlookers. Cameras were rolling. The airline live-streamed select moments with the hashtag #TheCruiseFlight, Part 2. As the sleek, black and silver jet gleamed under the sun, a now composed and freshly retrained Daniel stood at the base of the staircase. His uniform was sharp, his posture respectful, but his demeanor had changed. No arrogance. Just quiet professionalism. The jet door opened. TomCruise stepped out of a black SUV, wearing a navy suit and his trademark charm. He climbed the steps calmly, media clicking behind him, and as he reached the top, Daniel stepped forward. He extended his hand and said clearly, without a script, "Welcome aboard, Mr. Cruise. It's an honor to serve you today." Tom paused, smiled, and shook his hand warmly. That handshake, a simple gesture, echoed louder than any apology. It was captured from multiple angles, shared live, and reposted with captions like, "From misjudgment to mutual respect. Flight 227, Part 2, the sequel nobody expected." Inside the cabin, things were different too. Daniel served Tom personally throughout the short flight, not with forced charm, but with genuine care. They spoke briefly, even laughed. At one point, Tom handed Daniel a handwritten note. No one knew what it said, but Daniel read it quietly, smiled, and tucked it into his pocket. Meanwhile, Luxuries Air held a press conference, announcing a $250,000 donation to TomCruise's Selected Foundation, an educational nonprofit that supports underprivileged children in arts and media. The moment was not about fixing an image anymore. It was about proving growth. As the flight ended and Tom disembarked once again into a sea of flashing lights, the final footage was shared across social media, Daniel standing at the cabin door, giving a respectful nod as Cruise exited with a wave to the cameras. The story, once rooted in mistake and misunderstanding, had come full circle. The final video, edited and posted by Luxuries Air with the title, "Second Chances Soar," racked up over 100 million views in just 48 hours. Across the G. People shared it not as a celebrity gossip piece, but as a lesson. A story that reminded them that one moment doesn't define you forever. That humility speaks louder than power. That real strength is owning your mistakes, and that sometimes, the best endings begin with a second chance.